is the total allocations for the current school year as compared to that next school year. And you'll also see the differences. Now, as you can see, the total earned is 8,099,582 with a per pupil allocation of $20,768. Now that is for the 25-26 school year. Now you will see, I'm sorry, I have your rights now, Mr. Mitchell, and I see people trying to get in, so let me let them in. You will see that middle column, that is our allocations for the 24-25 school year. So you'll see a decrease there, and that decrease is actually reflected in the last column with $346,757 being the decrease in the total earned. And you also see the per pupil decrease in student earnings. Now, although you just saw the decrease that I shared, which was $346,757, what you're seeing on this next screen is a breakdown by grade level of students that are projected to attend Coretta Scott King next year. And you'll also see an unallocated balance here of over $1.7 million. So that unallocated balance that you see in red is the amount of cuts that we're going to have to make in order to balance out to zero. And those cuts right now, that equates to about 15 staff members. Here you see the the first page of the summary tab. And the summary tab basically shows you how money was allocated for Coretta Scott King. The first section that you're seeing is the middle school core. And you see 6.5 teachers funding for 6.5 teachers was allocated for the next school year. And then you see high school core with 8. Over to the far right column, you see the actual dollar amount that was given to CSK. And you see the amount of money that was spent for each one of these line items. Here you're seeing additional information from the summary tab. This is middle school extended core and high school. So again, you see the number of teachers that were allocated, the amount of money, and over in the far right column, you see in red the money that it costs to purchase these teachers. Middle school extended core and high school extended core. Here's another view. And if you look over to the right, you'll see where that funding is going. And here is an additional page. You'll see EIP teachers and CTE teachers, the number that was allocated, and the funding that is being used for these positions. Paraprofessionals, school administration, school support. You're seeing the amount of money that was earned, the amount that was staffed, and the amount of money over in the far right column is what it costs the budget. Here you see additional support positions. The column in yellow, you'll see that is what has been staffed. And the far red is the amount of money each position costs. additional support programs. You see here social worker. We have an MTSS person. We also have a reading specialist that's noted here. And an instructional technology specialist that's proposed. This is the final page where you see additional support. School resource officer, our operations manager, we share with BEST, custodian, psychologist. And here you're seeing a non-staffing non-staffing tab overview. Now you see that the column directly to the right of each one of these areas is blank because the budget is still a work in progress. As you may recall, the number that the unallocated balance that I shared with you was 1.7 million. And that's where we have to do cuts. So we are definitely aligning our budget to our strategic priorities and making sure that that is in alignment first and foremost. Once we make sure all of that is in alignment, we begin the cutting to offset that $1.7 million to get to, remember, we have to get to that zero balance. And in doing so, we'll also include funding, or the goal is to be able to include funding for other supplies that teachers need in order to be successful. Here you see an additional page of the non-staffing tab, and you will see here stipends. So this is money that has been allocated for stipends, and this includes athletic stipends, as well as fine and performing arts and academic stipends, such as department chairs, grade level chairs, club sponsors, and various other positions in the middle and high school level, or on the middle and high school level. A new process that has been put in place that is being piloted by the district, and it is referenced as zero-based budgeting, a process to support signature funding. One thing that changed this year, as opposed to what has happened in previous years, we have our schools, signature schools, have received an amount of funding to support their signature programs. And the signature program for Coretta Scott King is STEAM, and early college. So the funding that was previously allocated for our program, our signature and early college program, has been removed. And what we have to do is we have to actually request that funding and also be able to articulate the purpose of that funding. And I'm going to go over in detail a little bit more about where we are, why we're requesting that funding, and what that's for, and what that would be for. So on the signature program fund request page that you're seeing right now, what has been requested is a signature 0.5 band teacher. We currently share band with the Best Academy. So that is a request that has been made because we are pursuing our STEAM certification. And with STEAM certification, we have to make sure we're embracing the fine and performing arts, hence band. You'll also see a signature program coach, 211-day coach. We currently have one. Mr. Palmer is in the position that was previously funded by signature funding. So we are requesting that yet again. And you'll see the amount that is aligned with having a signature program coach, a STEAM coach. You'll also see a request for an orchestra teacher. Now, we have an orchestra teacher who also teaches chorus. And again, this is all in alignment with our STEAM pursuits and the fact that we have to make sure our kids are exposed and have experiences in the fine and performing arts. I'm sorry. Oh, Lord. Sorry about that. Then you also see at the very bottom, a signature world language teacher. We actually, the reason we have a Japanese world language program is due to a grant that was completed. And that grant has, that the funds have been exhausted. For the last 3 years, we have received money from the Japanese consulate, and who sponsored that program. And again, that ran out on last year, so we are requesting signature funding to continue with our Japanese program. So we have, this is pretty much the timeline with regards to the budget. The district will be looking at the signature funding proposals on tomorrow. And you'll see here the deadline for our other action items that are that the district is requesting. I'm very confident as the instructional leader that we will be within the parameters of our deadlines and timelines that are aligned. Are there any questions?
Hey, guys, this is not the time to be shy. There's some questions. Let's have them. That was pretty impactful.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is, yes, good afternoon, everyone. I just want to know, like, with the budget cuts, when will people be notified of, you know, if their position was cut or not? Like, what's the timeline for that?
There's a timeline in February. Mid to late February is when we will be making notifications. But for those of you who are familiar with me, if there is a budget cut to any one position, I will be meeting with that person early on, and we'll be working to come up with strategies. I will continue to work to come up with strategies to offset some of those cuts. Because one thing I do know is that every staff member here is definitely value added, but you know, we are in a time where budget cuts are warranted. So in addressing those budget cuts, I'm also working to be creative with some of those positions so that the majority of our population will, you know, maintain a position here at the school.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Are there any other questions?
No other questions, guys? Okay, well, Principal Washington, I know you just showed us the dates. When is your staffing conference scheduled to take place?
When is my staffing conference scheduled to take place with regards to abolishments, or what are you referencing?
You know, that's
because that's the February timeframe.
That's the February, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for this information. We will now take a minute to look over the meeting schedule. So our next two meetings are February 27th and March 27th. And I think we have to be done by March 14th. We may have to move up the March 14th date to stay within the district's guidelines. Board members, Go Team members, thoughts? We are going to have to change that meeting date.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, do we have a date in mind?
So calendar's out?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
So right now we have it for the 24th.
Right now, we have to be finished by March 14th.
Okay.
And our March meeting is on the 27th. So it looks like we have
March the 6th. How does that
Yeah.
sound, everyone?
6th. The 6th works for me.
No, March 7th, March 6th. On a Thursday, not a Friday.
Yeah, Thursday.
Thursday.
Mhm.
That
March
gives us a little wiggle room, right?
Mhm.
Something for an emergency that may have happened. Okay, I need somebody to make a motion that we change the March 27th date to March 6th. If there are no more questions, the February meeting needs to be moved before the 14th. Okay, so, thanks, Ms. Barnett. Ms. Barnett is from the district. She put in the tab that we also need to change the February 14th date.
We'll have just next week,
That's, yes, and that means we'll have to have a meeting
February 6th.
February 6th, yeah.
Is everyone okay with that?
That works for me.
So Shauna, what I'm hearing is 2/6 and 3/6?
Yep, that's it.
2/6 and 3/6. Okay, I need somebody to make a motion that we, with those two dates, February 6th and also March 6th.
Now, let me say this, if I may. If we are expecting a completed budget by that time, then that's not going to happen because I actually have meetings that I am going to be in, working to offset some of those cuts. And I can almost guarantee that that's not going to be completed
Yeah,
as far as the
yeah,
final budget by that time.
that's next week. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah,
Ms. Carroll, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Principal Washington. I was just about to chime in. Principals in schools will not receive what they have requested for their signature and turnaround until February the 7th. So please, between the 7th and the 14th, give Principal Washington an opportunity to go through that and come back with a complete budget for you all. So you may want to probably look at either the 13th or 14th so that she can be able to make sure that she comes back to you with something complete.
So what week are we out of school?
You're out the 17th. We're out the
The
week of the
following week.
17th.
Mhm.
17th through the 21st.
Okay. So Ms. Barnett, you're saying we need to have the meeting when?
February 13th.
February 13th, yep.
Now, was she saying February 13th? Okay.
The 13th, 14th, I just know that principals will not, and this is a tight timeline that we are working on, and we were just told that the 7th is when schools will actually know what they requested in their signature font.
Principal Washington, how do you feel about the 13th? I know the 14th is a Friday and that's also Valentine's Day. How do you feel about the 13th?
What's the drop dead date, Carolyn?
The 7th.
The 14th, because when your cluster superintendents will take the week of the 17th to go through everyone's budget before you all go into staffing conference. And that was the directives that we received.
So the 13th would be fine. I will make sure I've had all of my all of my meetings for my appeals.
Okay, so if I'm hearing correctly, we're looking at February the 13th and March 6th.
Mhm.
Yes,
Go team members, is that what I'm hearing?
yes.
Okay, I need a go team member to make a motion and second, and then we have to vote.
I motion for the March and February change of dates for Go Team meetings.
And I second the February and March Go Team
Yes.
meeting.
Has been properly motioned by Stacey Henry and second by Shauna Mitchell that we are going to change our dates. February 6th and also March 13th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
February
you said-
13th and March 6th.
Correctly, Mr.
Oh,
Mitchell.
so-
February,
yeah,
you about to
Thank
make
you.
me jump
Thanks,
through the-
Shauna. Thanks, Washington. February 13th, thank you, and March the 6th.
Thank you.
I stand corrected, sorry.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. We'll get those changed. All right, we will now have, so Principal, we're not ready for budget allocation, correct? So that's the next meeting.
I went over the actual
allocations, okay, good.
allocations.
All right,
At
now-
the next meeting, I'll be able to give you more finality where we are in regards to cuts, that $1.7 million that you saw. the goal is by that time that will be a zero balance.
Fingers are crossed. All right, next we'll have our principal's report from Ms. Washington.
That was my principal's report.
Oh, that was everything. I know, right? I know. Is
That
there
was
anything
everything. Well,
else
let
you
me
wanna
just say this.
Yeah.
We received our budgets over a week ago now, January 15th. So I see a number of my teammates on here, and I know you hadn't seen a whole lot of me. And it's because of the fact that been in meetings, been making appeals, having conversations, going through the budget with a fine-tooth comb because one, of course, we have to do what's in our priority is doing what's in the best interest of the children. And one reason Coretta Scott King has been so successful is because of the fact that we have created opportunities, experiences, and different exposure to things that our children have not been afforded in traditional public schools. So my fight is to make sure that that does not go away. And I feel really, really confident that we will not have to lose the number that I mentioned earlier, because like me, there are a number of, executive cabinet members who also understand that Coretta Scott King is different. It's not your traditional school, period. And we are, working to make sure our kids, and I'm not trying to paint a picture that other principals aren't burning the midnight oil or not doing what's in the best interest of kids, because I know they are. But we do a lot of things here that are non-traditional, and those non-traditional things and those goals that we have set and those standards of excellence that we have embraced have resulted in us doing some great things and being recognized nationally. So we definitely don't want to compromise opportunities that have been, put in place for our scholars. So just know I will continue to make appeals, conduct presentations, and fight the hard fight to make sure we don't lose any programs and hopefully people.
Principal Washington, that's in the chat. Somebody's asking, is there a specific department you're currently looking at?
No.
No, okay. It's in the chat. I apologize.
Principal Washington, do you still have the rights to let in members? There's someone waiting in the lobby.
Yes, I still have rights, and I just let them in. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's okay. I know you were talking. No worries.
All right, committee. Thank you, Principal Washington.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Principal Washington? Because that was impactful. That's okay. We'll move on. Committee reports. Miss Register, did Miss Register ever come in? All right, I don't want to. Miss Imani or Miss Mitchell, would you like to share out on the uniform committee?
Miss Imani, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. We have been working as the uniform committee to prepare for this day by mainly getting out the surveys to both the students and the parents. Please feel free, Mr. Mitchell or Miss Mitchell, to get me if I miss anything. So we've sent out a round of that. I believe that, Mr. Mitchell, do you have the graph to share with the results of what we have thus far?
Principal Washington, can you give me back sharing rights?
While we're getting that together, but we do have some results. As we discussed yesterday in our uniform committee meeting, we have some results where we definitely like to see more parent participation. So we are looking to find some ways to have more parents to engage with the survey so that we can really get a good idea of what everybody's feelings are surrounding changing the current uniform policy for CSK. We have also been discussing what that looks like while being in compliance with APS bylaws. So if we were to remain with the same uniform policy, making sure that we remain within the bylaws of the APS uniform policy as well. I think that Mr. Mitchell is pulling up the graph now with the data of the responses that we have thus far.
So as of right now, is this the parent one? I think this is parent.
Yeah, 77 responses as parents because the students.
Yeah, as of right now, we had a lot of parents who came to the award ceremony this morning, so we're over 100. But yeah, majority of the parents are definitely in favor of keeping the uniform where it is. These are just some more. Do you believe we should add more colors? They would like to see a few more colors. Should we have dress down Fridays? This is kind of overwhelming. Most parents think dress down Fridays would be something good. I'm not going to read all the responses. Our staff, do you support continued staff at 94%? Think we should keep the uniforms? Do you believe we should add more colors? The staff, they do not want to add more colors. Should we have dress down Fridays? The staff is also in agreement with a dress down Friday, if not every Friday, every other Friday. And now we have should be our students. Did I miss the students? Okay, there's the students right there. Our students is broken down by high school and middle school. How do you feel about the dress code? 61% strongly support the dress code. Do you believe the current uniform policy limits your ability to express your individuality? 43% say yes. It's kind of mixed. Have you ever been removed from class or missed instructional time due to the dress code violation? No. So majority of our kids say no, they have never missed any instructional time. A couple said yes, 25% say yes. No, I said that wrong. 14% say yes. All right. Do you believe the dress code should be modified? 72% say yes, it should be, yes, it would be a positive change if it was modified. Do you understand that if the dress code is modified, you will need to follow certain guidelines? And the students overwhelmingly say, yes, they understand. The last one, Ms. Coretta Scott King desired to have the current colors for the uniform. How does this affect your attitude? And 54% said they were neutral. 11% said they disagree. 9% said they strongly agreed, and 12% said they agreed. All right, so that question was important because if we're going to keep some form of uniform policy, if Coretta Scott King and her family wanted these colors, we thought that that was kind of important that we at least show respect to the family, that we at least try to keep the colors as best we can. So do we have any questions from the rest of the audience and Go Team members concerning the uniform policy or what the committee has found so far? Anybody? Doc, Natasha, anybody? Okay.
We are also we're hopeful, as we said, to get more parent engagement, which I'm glad that it seems like the award ceremony today helped. So we're trying to think of some creative ways to get parents involved in this so that we can make sure that there is a balanced voice. The students have done a pretty good job overall of responding to their survey, and so has the staff. So I think our hope moving forward is to get a little bit more parent involvement. We're also trying to start to brainstorm some optimal ways to implement, if this does pass, for more options, how to implement the dress days. So that's another item that we're working through. And I don't know if we're going to be sharing that today or if that's something we're still going to work on before we roll it out at large.
All right, thank you, Ms. Imani. All right, cluster report, Ms. Shauna Mitchell, please unmute.
I didn't have anything to report this time. We do have a meeting coming up, February 24th, but I didn't have anything to report. And if I missed something, Ms. Bennett, please feel free to let me know.
Okay. All right, announcements. I'm reminded to all Go Team members to complete their budget training on the Ellis platform. If you need any assistance with the platform, contact the Go Team office. We'll get that done. We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business that we need to know about? I do want to say the staff versus the cheerleaders yesterday was phenomenal. If you guys have not seen it, please get with somebody who has that video. They performed at the halftime of the girls' varsity basketball game yesterday. And our awards, shouts out to the staff that put on our award ceremony today. That was really good. And something's going on tomorrow. Any staff member, what's going on tomorrow?
The
Tomorrow,
attendance?
Attendance.
yes.
Thanks, Consola. Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other announcements that we need to make?
Well, I'd like to just kind of elaborate as to what the attendance is. This is our first celebration for attendance. So students that have an average daily attendance of 90% and above are going to be celebrated tomorrow. And right now we have an enrollment of approximately 375 students. We have 301 that will be attending this celebration. Therefore, we have the mass majority of our population has an average daily attendance of 90% and above. And we actually recognized 36 scholars in today's award ceremony for having perfect attendance. So kids understand the importance of coming to school. It was a battle right now when we came back from the pandemic because our average daily attendance was in the toilet. So we put some different things. We put some things in place, reached out to some parents, put together our whole child committee, and things are looking very well. So we're super, super excited about our first attendance.
That is good.
Yes.
Yeah, 90% of our school is perfect. That's great. Good job.
Principal Washington, may I, and I'm sorry to go back on this. I just have a quick question about the uniform. When we talk about making sure that we let the students know how important the statement that you made to us in one of our very first meetings with regard to that being a stance that you had made and how important it was. I think it was all impactful for us. I can speak behind the scenes. We all talked about how impactful that was. And when you said that, it was one of those things that drove us as a committee to really talk about and then put that question in place. Do we think that it would be great to have, even like we do the advisories, the morning during advisement, we'll have something over in the auditorium and let the kids know, maybe just some type of quick something to just make sure they are aware of how important that is, because it was disheartening to hear the kids say they didn't really realize that she was the reason why, and maybe if they have that understanding, it would be, become more personal for them, just a thought. I'm just asking, would you be opposed to us doing something like that?
And that's something that I can definitely do. In 2016, when I was blessed to be offered this position, I met with Bernice. We've actually met one-on-one a couple of times. And one of the things that was brought to my attention prior to our meeting was that parents were having a hard time finding the chocolate brown, because the original uniform was chocolate brown pants, pink, brown, or white collared shirt. So in listening to parents, and I actually went to some places myself looking for the chocolate brown pants, and they were very hard to attain. So I actually made the request and the pitch as to why we needed to modify the current dress code to include the khaki pants because they were more easily accessible. So that was at the time I spoke to my cluster superintendent, who's no longer here. I spoke with my cluster superintendent and made sure that the family was okay with this change. And hence we have chocolate brown pants or khaki pants, and now the white, pink, or brown collared shirts. So yeah, I in answer to your question, Ms. Mitchell, many students may not know that. They may not be aware, and I'm sure parents may not be aware of that either. And parents should also be aware of the fact that we have done the dress down days. And I've spent half of my day calling parents or finding clothes for kids to put on because they came showing parts that they should not show. So unfortunately, what the dress down, it can be very revealing, and it can also be a distraction. And when you take away the dress code, you have some students that are not as fortunate as others. So then you have another set of problems and issues that come into place. So I don't want anyone on this Go Team meeting to feel at any time that is not something that we have entertained, because it has been entertained a number of times. And, now we're to the point where I only entertain dressing down during homecoming week. I take my Geritol and I make sure I'm ready to deal with it. Homecoming week. And we also have some opportunities closer to the end of the year as incentives for our children. But for kids who, come to school, they're not in uniform. We have uniforms, and we wash clothes, we dry clothes, and we make sure our children are suited and booted. So, it is not an option for a child to not be a part of instruction or miss instructional time because of their attire. We get them dressed. We have a team of people who work to make sure that our babies are dressed, suited, booted, and ready to learn. Did I answer your question, baby?
You did. Yep, you just said you wouldn't be opposed to sharing it. So yes, ma'am, that's fine.
I
Thank
was
you.
glad I
Shauna, that was a really good question. I thank you for asking. Anybody else?
I just wanted to pop in too, because I forgot to mention this, that we are fully aware and of the importance of keeping the legacy of the King family, and also trying to instill in us as parents in a community that it is a private school experience. So in a public school setting. And so I think that no matter how it turns out, if it is voted and we do end up having to implement some flex days or optional, I think we can still work together to really encourage the community about what the school mission is, and providing education, and also providing that private school experience, which usually does include uniforms. And so hopefully we can incentivize and empower everybody to be proud of that versus looking at it as a negative thing or a thing that where people cannot or the students cannot express their fashion choices. So we are aware of that as we are trying to think through creative ways to make sure that everybody is heard.
All right, if there are no more announcements, this meeting, the time is 4:51. This meeting is adjourned.
All right, thank you.